Is this working? It is working. Yay. All right. It's been a while since we've done this. Excuse me. Hello. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good morning. Wherever you are. What's going on? My name is Mark. I am in zombie mode currently. Basically, I've reached that point in my life where less than about 7 hours sleep means that I don't really function. But I do always look like I'm like this, regardless of sleep or not. What are we doing now? What's going on? Yeah, so basically, my girlfriend, my wonderful partner, is on a plane flying to Japan as we speak right now, and has left me all on my own for the next 2 and a bit weeks. Meaning I don't really know what to do with myself. And a combination of that and the fact that, again, I am in zombie mode means that I've not really been able to sit down and work on my video game Axyz, available to wishlist on Steam right now. And so I was like, well, I need to do something. I did buy and download Lost Odyssey yesterday. Some call the real Final Fantasy 13, and I will get to that here and there. But I'd had this idea for a while about doing something around like just playing a bunch of football games. And off the bat, let's get this out of the way. Football games, not soccer games. We clear? We good on this? Okay, thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to play like a bunch of football games. And I had an idea a while ago about doing a video, just kind of going through a bunch of them, or maybe like a series of videos. And then quickly decided against doing that because that would take a lot of time that I don't really have. So this is kind of a compromise with myself, where I'm just going to stream a bunch of games, a bunch of football games, and to give it a little bit of extra je ne sais quoi, let's rank them as we go along. You know, as seen on many another platform, content creator has probably done similar things. But we're doing this with football games specifically. There's a couple of asterisk points to put on this. Crucially, everything that I'm playing is through the wonderful form that is emulation, which means I'm kind of capped to a point on what I can emulate. Basically anything past what is post PS2? Is that the 6th or the 7th generation? Somewhere around there. That will be kind of my limit. Up to PS2, that kind of area. Though that does mean I can also do like handheld stuff, so you know, all the handheld game consoles should be in there. Not sure about Vita. I haven't tried Vita emulation. I have a PS Vita, and I can play anything on there, but I can't. That doesn't have like an output. It's not modified anyway. Can you? I presume there is a Vita out there in the world somewhere that has output configuration, but I don't. So that's something I need to look in. Well, I don't need to look into it. Maybe it'll be something out of morbid curiosity, but for now at least, I'll settle just on PSP and go from there. I'm going to try and do about 4 or 5 games per stream, kind of like, because here's the thing, right? I'm going to imagine a lot of these up until that 5th, 6th generation, anything before that, I feel like we're going to know pretty quickly what we're dealing with in terms of quality. But but you know, we'll give them the old college try, and we'll see what happens. But I'm not, I'm not confident. Most of these that I haven't played, it's purely just, you know, before the stream, I've booted it up just to check that the ROM works, so we don't have try and keep technical snafus to a minimum. I try to do like a broad strokes approach, like for each time we do one of these. So I'm not gonna just like settle for like, all right, let's do a bunch of. I guess maybe at some point I could just say, all right, let's do a bunch of SNES football games. Let's do a bunch of Dreamcast football games. But for the time being, at least, I'm going to try and mix it up because that will probably keep me slightly more interested as we go along. Because if I have like, I don't know, say there are 4 football games for the Atari 5200. I doubt there are, but if there is, I'm trying to do 4 of those in one go. Oof, it's probably not going to go very well. I think it's probably more interesting to not kind of go too far, like past that like PS2, PS3 era anyway, or that generation, because by that point we've kind of whittled down to PES versus FIFA. You know, pretty much everything else has fallen off the wayside by then. And that was kind of one of the things actually that got me interested when I started diving into this earlier this year, is like just how many football games there are from that, definitely from like that 5th and 6th generation, that aren't FIFA or PES. And the interesting kind of approaches around like licensing and like what kind of gimmicks are tacked on to compel you to buy them. And a lot of them I've only ever seen in a bargain bin in my local video game store when I was about 13, 14 years old. Chris Kamara, we will get to you at some point, I'm sure. That's kind of it, really. And so this is my, you know, wonderfully, definitely took more than 30 seconds to put together spreadsheet, where we'll be ranking games going forward. I will break up these segments into clips for YouTube as well, so they can all have like their own separate sections. We'll see about that, how much work I want to put into this. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else really that I need to kind of put to this. If, you know, people end up watching this or people taking interest, I'm happy to take requests per stream. But you know, let's not get carried away. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, you know. Hell yeah! Look, this is gonna swap this is gonna change over very quickly. We're gonna have something else to look at shortly. Actually, let's get on that now then. So, I'm gonna start off PlayStation 1, Actua Soccer. I don't remember if it was like the first football game. It definitely wasn't the first football game I played, because I'm pretty sure the first football game I played was World Championship Soccer for the Mega Drive / Genesis, which I do have on here to play today. But definitely, you know, the PlayStation 1 was kind of where I came into my forte. Actually, no, actually, FIFA 93 for the Mega Drive and FIFA 94, I think, for the Mega Drive. Those two were really where I started to like properly play football games. But Actua Soccer kind of has a sentimental, nostalgic value to me just because of the Actua series as a whole. You know, I remember playing a lot of Actua Golf, and Actua Tennis, and Actua Soccer. And it's kind of a really fascinating series of games, you know, and like Gremlin Interactive, which went on to, were they bought by Infogrames? Did they become Infogrames? I can't remember. Who the fuck owns them now? Probably, who could it be? Embracer is really the only obvious answer. But it's an interesting collection of games, and I think there were 3 of them on the PlayStation, but that's not including like ports, or because I'm pretty sure like the American version, when I was looking into this, got like repackaged as Fox Sports Interactive or some bollocks like that. And it's basically the same game, but just, you know, slight repackaging here and there. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So let's get cracking. Let's get this open. What I need to do is all right. Analog mode forcing you to tell what game settings can start in digital mode. That's fine, because most of these games probably are going to be more kind of digital setup anyway, because I mean, original Actua Soccer is absolutely before the original DualShock. No question about it. Okay, what I want to check quickly is how the fuck do we do full screen, or get out of full screen if needed be. Well, we'll put it on for the moment, so I can then. This is nostalgia for me. Alright, let's whack the volume down there. I'm not too sure about the volume levels, so like if I have to whack down the output for the game, let me know. Should be alright though. But yeah, like all this kind of going on here with the Actua presentation, like it hits me in the feels. It really does. And I'm really curious to see about, because you know there's been such a like homogenization of UI and menus over the past like 10 years or so. And again, that's just because we've had basically what two series going forward for the last 15 odd years or so, probably longer. And you play FIFA 22, FIFA 23, FIFA 24, and you know they're virtually indistinguishable. So just as much as like playing these games for the actual games themselves, I'm kind of interested to see like presentation wise how they look, how they vary. And definitely as we go like back and forth between different consoles, I'm really curious to see how they hold up, how they are to navigate, and you know whatever else. I do remember when I was looking into this, you've got like the actual billboards in the background, and I do like. There are certain games that do this where they have in-game advertising, and typically it's for like other games by that publisher. So you'll see in the background they've got like loaded on there. Pretty sure Wipeout does the same thing as well, with some of the billboards in the background. I was kind of thinking about doing something similar with Axyz for one of the environments, but I'm sure there are like contracts and God knows what else that have to be signed to make that work, and that seems like a lot of work. So anyway, can I get out of demo mode? Can I get out of demo mode?
Nice touch.
Am I locked in demo mode now? What is going on? I don't remember this being a feature of games back in the day. All right, let's reset then, I guess. But it does mean we get to listen to that once more, and, you know, that can never hurt. My controller absolutely was working when I tested this earlier, so... Oh, what's going on? No. No, you just decided to stop working. Okay, alright. Let's figure this out. Why be reset? You were not doing this earlier. Alright, that should be good, right? Okay. Of course, as soon as I get onto the stream, it decides to completely reset my controller configuration. It was working fine earlier. Whatever. Here we are. There we go. That's better. Alright. Enjoy your lovely stock music. Let's just jump into a friendly. I'm not gonna like dabble too much in terms of like testing out League and any of the like tournament setup, because the idea with this is I'm only really gonna play a game or two and then bounce on to the next one, to the next game at least. Because part of what I want to do with this as well is see is like how approachable are these games if you just jump into it blindly. You know, can I just jump into a game and kind of pick up the controls fairly quickly? Are they intuitive? Are they not? Am I going to play as Republic of Ireland for each of these? Maybe, maybe. Who's a good minnow I can go against? I mean, you kind of have to, really. Because I'll be honest, if you put those two flags in front of me, I'm not confident 10 times out of 10 I would give you the right answer.
But if the play can match the pitch, we should be in for a good contest.
I almost camouflage into the football field.
Kelly. Sheridan. Townsend. Keeping possession well.
I mean, there are certain things about this game, even for obviously how choppy it looks in some aspects, and how cheap, shall we say, that UI looks. There are certain aspects about the presentation of this that are fairly impressive, like the fact that you can adjust the camera on the fly, or the fact that they decided to put like that kind of level of effort into having multiple camera setups and giving you a dedicated button for it, because, you know, obviously this was before the time of skill shots and finesse and that kind of thing. It's a little touch that I appreciate. Now, the one thing I don't know or remember is if there is a button to change player. Because there would have been games before that would have done that. Like, I'm pretty sure in those early Mega Drive FIFA games you could switch between players. I think Triangle's doing that.
Nice variation, mixing the short and the long.
Like, one of the really shocking things as well is how fairly competent the commentary is. Like, obviously, there's a bit of compression. panicked. Obviously, the vocal tracks are massively compressed, and sound like they're recording in a tin can. But in terms of like Barry Davies and what he's responding to, you know, I remember playing the SmackDown wrestling games, like from the PS2, from like 2001 or so. And actually, it took a fair few years before they got fairly competent. And this is what, like 96, 97, and the commentary is fairly advanced for its time.
Nice touch. Townsend.
I think the big challenge with all of these games about whether I consider them good or not is if I am able to score. You can see around, like you can see the touch line on the side. It's a bit jagged. It's definitely a bit rough around the edges in some areas. The crowd is a bit static, but I do appreciate you've got like the ambience of a crowd noise, and it is responding to stuff that's happening. So it's a bit jarring that like there's no crowd movement, but there's a good atmosphere to it actually.
Good passing movement, variation they're showing.
And I think in some ways the compression kind of helps. It kind of gives it like an artificial reverb or an echo. I wonder how they would have even recorded that, because I know I was reading up about it and they used a couple of I think it was Sheffield Wednesday or Sheffield United players to do mocap for it. So I'm curious if like they just went to, I mean it would make sense, they probably just went to a match and recorded a bunch of noises. That was a bad time to switch the camera up. Oh, we even got back passes, holy shit, that's got to be offside. No, Quinn, my boy. 90s legend.
1-0.
Yeah, okay, so triangle definitely allows me to switch. It doesn't seem to be consistent in terms of how I switch between characters, but it kind of works. I can't accurately determine what the symbols below the players. Like the triangle, I guess, like, so the triangle kind of aims in the direction you're going, but like it's a triangle and it looks to be a fairly even triangle, so it's kind of hard to determine. But you can see the flashing underneath, so like, you know, like your character is receiving the ball, I guess. I'll be honest, I hadn't played it for a while. I played a bunch of this early this year, and I remember at the time, and I'd still say I think this holds up reasonably well. It's obviously got major limitations in a bunch of ways, but it's definitely not the worst looking game we'll probably look at.
Well, you win some and you lose some.
It's got good ambience, it's got decent commentary. Movement doesn't feel particularly stiff. Like, it's not bad. Not bad. If I had, you know, a couple of people round for a night of playing games and whatnot, I think this would be totally reasonable to put on the list. I'm now hankering for a 12, so the advertising works effectively. I never checked to see what play. What is the video? Is it just like the intro again? Oh shit! What?
Basically, I'm writing and designing the logic and the game intelligence.
This is basically Digital Eclipse before that was even a thing.
Involve user control, so the user can make the game playable, make it look realistic, join the animation together and make the actions flow into each other. Beforehand, most people just worked on sprites, but now we've got motion capture animation.
Motion capture is recording movements of people or things in 3 dimensions.
I'm sorry, Paul, but
so that a computer can animate figures
if you knew you were being filmed that day,
rather than artificial animations. A person
you could have put a little bit of effort into your outfit.
In small reflective markers, they then can do their movements inside an area surrounded by 6 cameras. The cameras record the images of the markers, and then a computer converts that into 3-dimensional movement.
It gives it a very much more.
Did he say that there were 6 balls?
You can really picture the.
I think you'd have.
Like
what? I don't know much about mocap, but
the continuity particularly, we have to use a technique called
6 balls. What probably covers 1 hand these days?
Betweening, where we have to meld one motion capture into another smoothly, so you don't see the joins where they were.
The 44 main ranking countries in the world. You can play various competitions.
Oh man, look at that.
From those 44, you know, you can play league systems.
There are probably aspects of the design of this game that you could probably do in like 2 days these days that took them 6 months.
All the hardware capabilities of the PlayStation. For example, the players have been rendered using a lot of polygons to give them much more detail. And when you look at them on screen, they look a lot more solid. If you look at the PC version, the players kind of spin around and from some angles, and it looks a bit strange, but not on the PlayStation.
We took inspiration from sort of the modern TV stations, Sky Sports, and things like that, and tried to get it to look as.
Wait, was the crowd moving in that? Was that just?
And I'm a musician. I write most of the music for this company. Do a few sound effects.
You love your job, don't you?
And motivate the masses with my larkish humour. I've just been doing some rough demos at the moment and been writing a few words with a couple of other guys. Been doing a bit of the script and stuff. It's coming along. I think it's going to be sharp and to the point.
Well, the sound we use the commentator Barry Davis, as everyone knows, and he did about 4,000 samples for us.
4,000, man.
What we expected.
I'm working on a wall of honour on my board.
That seems crazy for like 97.
And Chris Woods, as you can see, and also I've got when I met the beautiful South and a few other people up there. But Barry Davis, when I get my picture developed, Barry's.
Also, can you imagine Barry having to fucking sit in a booth and record 4,000 lines?
There's another man's irritation. And so I believe what you don't say is as important as what you do say. And commentators actually, as a breed, we all talk too much. It's almost a qualification for the job. It's not so much liking the sound of your own voice, but you do sort of go with the flow. I've seen sort of some things in arcades, and I can remember sort of my son having, when we first bought him a computer years ago. I mean, I'm of the generation that once children know far more about these things than parents.
Came up with the actual name, Actua Soccer, and designed the logo. Actua meaning actual action taken from the motion capture rather than anything virtual, which I'd rather got tired of. Yeah. Well, people took it too far. William Gibson and Rudy Rucker put out the map and everybody abused it and everything became very un-cyber.
My job as producer is basically keeping all the programmers, graphic artists, musicians, commentary programmers all in the same direction. Making sure that, you know, everybody's pulling together as a team, working together as a team, you know, and in the end to produce the best football game there is in the market.
Well, I'll tell you what I think of Actua Soccer. I think it's the most realistic game play-wise and player-wise. How the players run about little black eels, little flicks to each other. It's the most realistic looking game I've ever seen. The artwork's absolutely amazing. The front end makes you want to play it. I've seen it and I was drooling over it myself. I think it's amazing.
And for me to actually appear in it, or not appear in it, but the movements appear there, it's like I say, it's a dream come true.
That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. And that's not exactly a thing you see often, like an in-game documentary. It's not quite Psych Odyssey, but I'll take it. Alright, we'll do one more. See if I can expand on 1-0 against Ivory Coast. I didn't actually check to see if there was anything around changing formation or players or whatnot. Not that I... Even in modern football games, I don't have the time, nor knowledge, nor skill to be faffing around with formations.
It's a beautiful sunny afternoon, and the pitch looks in great condition.
Now, also, I can see the lack of an elbow on the players, but come on,
Good passing movement.
let's not be too harsh.
Variation they're showing.
Can I cross? Is there a cross button?
Axyz.
There we go. Come on, come on, you can get him, you can get him.
Nice variation, mixing the short and the long. Move one way, played it the other. Sheridan.
The passing does feel a little bit stiff in terms of when you're trying to aim it. It feels like there's a moment before you pass where the game doesn't freeze, but you can kind of tell it's like tracking, okay, this is the input you're doing, now let's perform the action. There's like a half a second of that process of that happening that feels more pronounced because you don't really feel that kind of thing anymore. Like in a football game, it's so instantaneous, but you can feel it here. I'm curious if that's more just like an early 3D thing, and like maybe some of the 2D games, it doesn't feel as pronounced. Trying to aim feels completely non-existent when shooting, though.
Mahlas. Neat as a short pass. Owen.
Who are you passing to?
Kelly.
McDennis, you are a childhood idol of mine. I don't think I switched off the offside ruling, but it does feel a bit non-existent.
Oh no. The striker's going through a bit of a lean spell at the moment. Townsend.
I will be honest, Barry. That was a bit too excited for what was a bit of a lackluster shot.
Well, if that wasn't a miskick, I don't think I've ever seen one.
I do appreciate the referee, very lenient, you know, he's letting the play continue, he's been very, he's not been too strict in terms of the offside ruling or fouls or anything else. But even stuff like this, you know, the players kind of running out onto the pitch, I'd imagine back in the day that kind of thing would have probably blown, you know, your mind if you were like 8 or 9 years old, and you know maybe you played other football games before, but just that kind of like match day presentation, and that kind of thing. One of the things I really want to try and do while I play through a bunch of these games is try and kind of think about the games through the lens of like that period of time. You know, just try and be not lenient, but just look at it as like, all right, if you were 10 years old playing it at the time when it came out, how would you feel playing it? You know, like as much as parts of, say, like a Metal Gear Solid annoy me, there's no denying that if you played that in 1998 as a 10-year-old, it'd be the greatest thing you'd ever fucking seen. Like, I fully understand and appreciate that. And I do think, obviously, Metal Gear Solid, a little bit more to it, presentation-wise, than this, but you know what I mean.
And that makes it 2-0.
It does feel a bit basic in terms of how you approach attacking, but yeah, I think I've got it down. I think I got it down now.
Now it's 3-0. Townsend.
We just approach from the corner. Ah, my boy Roy.
Score 4-0.
He's not going to walk off in a huff and fly home just yet.
Apostolakis. Axyz. Got all the big men up in the box for this one. Sheridan. Townsend. Well, that's the coach's joy.
Was he tying shoelaces up?
Training pitch comes out in the match. Keeper well positioned to make the stop.
Should have made more of that.
Apostolakis. Axyz. Mala. It's a poor pass. Don't expect to take advantage of the situation if you play the ball through like that.
He should have made more of that. I think I got off lightly there.
Saruhidis. Sheridan. Bad.
Alright, 4-0. I have mastered Actua Soccer. And yeah, we'll leave it there for the first game of this this little project. So let's bounce over to our rankings. And I think it would be fair to say, well, I mean, we're going to put it at number 1 anyway, because, you know, we only have one game so far. But I actually think that, you know, it's not the worst game that you're going to play if you go back and find a game from the PlayStation. I expect, again, Chris Kamara, looking at you, I expect I'm going to play far inferior PlayStation football games. So this is not a bad place to start. I think it captures the match day feel. I think that it's a bit janky with some of the graphics, but you know, the fact that you've got stuff like billboards, I think is a really nice touch. But there's clearly a lot of effort that went into stuff like the atmosphere, the crowd, how responsive the crowd is. Like, it's actually quite dynamic. It's not bad. It's not bad. So you know, I'm sure again I'm going to play a lot worse games, and I actually think that Actua Soccer, even though it's the first game, I think it's worthy at the top slot for the time being. But we've got a few more games to get to on this stream, so we'll see how we do.